Tell me, darling, could we run away? We could hide away by the cactus desert blue. I can see it just a mile away from this crowded place. I could lay there next to you.
Hey friends, welcome back to our channel, Best Freaking Friends Forever. Thank you guys for subscribing or watching our videos or liking our videos or commenting. So today we are going to do two shows. We're going to start with Saved by the Bell and actually do the first two seasons. So Saved by the Bell, actually the very first season was actually called, well, it was called Good Morning Miss Bliss. And really it was Saved by the Bell, the junior class or the junior high years, because they were in middle school at the time. So it had Haley Mills, who played Miss Bliss. It had Dennis Haskins, which plays Mr. Belding. It had Dustin Diamond, who played Screech Samuel Powers. It had Mark Paul Gosselaar, who played Zach Morris. Lark Voorhees, who played Lisa Turtle. Max Batimo, who played Mikey. And then Heather Hopper, who played Nikki Coleman. And T.K. Carter, who played Milo. I'm not sure what his role what he was really considered in the school. But yeah, and then Joan Ryan, who was Miss Trina Pellegrino, which I think is the art teacher or the drama teacher. Mm-hmm. So it had a lot of characters. And they actually went to JFK, middle school or junior high. So, and that you'll find later that changes. But yeah, so those are the characters and the cast.
The first episode aired on November 30th of 87. And then the last one was March 18th of 89. There was 13 episodes total, which was pretty good for a show for first starting out. Mm-hmm. And they just, the seasons get longer and longer from there. Good Morning Miss Bliss, and then they decided to switch it over to Saved by the Bell. And they changed the feel of it even, because it was mostly focused on Miss Bliss and her students and how she taught and kind of her trials. That's what they taught, that's what they mostly talked about, was more her sort of thing. Like Zach was in her kitchen when she was having that date.
That was the very first episode. And she even talked about how her kid, she was trying to explain to the date. She's like, look, my kids come in and out. Mm-hmm. Which, as a teacher, I'm like, that would never happen today.
No. So starting from the first one was Summer Love, Love Letters, Wall Street, Leaping to Conclusions, Parents and Teachers, The Shutdown, Save the Last Dance for Me, The Boy Who Cried Rat, Let's Get Together, Practical Jokes, Stevie, Clubs and Cliches, and The Mentor. My favorite episode, I kind of liked when, I'm not sure, probably like whenever she played the prank on the kids, because they kept trying to prank her and nobody could get Miss Bliss. And then they thought somebody had got her, and Screech fessed up to it even though he didn't do it. Mm-hmm. And then come to find out, Miss Bliss was the one that had played the prank on herself. And I forget what was the prank. Oh, she had sat down. Wasn't it the chair was painted?
Yes.
Yeah. And she sat down in it, and so she was really upset. I liked whenever they did court. All those little antics they did. The little, they had played court, right? That was the episode.
She held a trial to find out who did it. And then when they had found Screech, I thought my favorite, like when they found Screech not guilty, they were like, well, then if he didn't do it, then who did? Mm-hmm. And then she fessed up to it. But at the same time, it was a teaching moment. And she did a lot of hands-on teaching. So that was the teaching. It got them to learn the justice system and how to, because Zach even Zach got into it and would say, I object, and for this reason. And she's like, okay, sustained or whatever. And it was kind of cool to watch because they were learning. That's how she got them interested in that.
Yeah, she did a lot like that. There was one episode where there was technology like back in the day, like telephone, and she was like, sell me the telephone. And I liked that, how Zach did, and he had to make up with Nikki, right? Was his partner?
That was another one of my favorites too. I I enjoyed that part, and I liked the one, I think it was in Showdown, where Screech is dealing with the bully. And he's in the bathroom, and he was like, I can't read. And he's like, now laugh, because it's funny. And Screech is like, it's not funny. And then Screech, but before that, he wants to fight Screech. And like all the kids, all the gang, like stand up for him and like, well, you're gonna have to go through me. And then they just keep stepping in front of each other. And really, sometimes they don't treat Screech very nicely. But at the end of the day, I feel like in that episode, they really did have his back. I mean, I really think, especially Zach, because Zach takes advantage. I mean, we see it time and time again in each episode.
Yeah.
Some way, shape, or form, he's taking advantage of Screech. Yeah. But yeah.
Well, that episode's good. That bully episode, the bully one, because the boy himself, you could tell every other school he had been to did not give him a chance. Well, and like even Belding tries to get rid of him. Like, well, here, we'll solve it. We'll just transfer him. And even Miss Bliss is like, but that's what everybody's done to him.
Well, and she was a hard egg to crack. Even she couldn't at first.
Right. Well, I think what helped was when Screech said, that's not funny. Like that you can't read. And then I think that's whenever he was like, wow, so many people really do care. And so then he goes to Miss Bliss and says, I want to learn to read, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I just like it because you can see the impact that she's making on the kids and what all they're learning from her.
Overall, I thought the season was good. It was hard for me to like kind of get going with it. Like I would watch 1 or 2 episodes and then kind of take a break. With season 2, we'll get into that, of course, but I found it easier to keep watching on season 2. So I think it was smart on there. I don't think if they would have kept the whole Miss Bliss aspect of the show, I don't think it would have lasted or had been a big of hype as Saved by the Bell. When they shift things over to it being about the kids and their antics, that to me helped them to keep going and build that momentum.
Right. And I think it did too. And I think, and they went from it being on the Disney Channel, which caused it to most things on the Disney Channel, especially back then, had to be wholesome and family oriented and all of that, where you couldn't, the things that they talk about in second season, they probably never would have been able to in the first season. Just because it was on the Disney Channel. And then the second season, they got to go to NBC, or they were taken over by NBC. Yeah. So they picked up. So, yeah,
well, yeah, they even, like, later on in the years, they talk about some more serious things, too. But, yeah, we'll get into those as we watch them. Well, like, the episode with Nikki and how she didn't want to dissect the frog. That like storyline has been done time and time again. I remember it being done on Roseanne, and I'm almost certain, we'll find out later, I'm almost certain that they did it again in Saved by the Bell with Jesse. I feel like there was an episode where Jesse wouldn't dissect a frog, and so they do that storyline again. Could be wrong. I might be remembering incorrectly. But that one, I feel like a lot of shows do that storyline, talking about, it's my right. I shouldn't have to dissect a frog if I don't want to.
Right. Well, and it was funny. They were in Indiana. So keep that in mind. For the first season, they were in Indiana. They were at JFK Junior High and in Indiana. So when we go to season 2, not only does the name change, it's now, I think this ran from, what did we say it ran from? 19 or
this season, it was August 20th, 89 to December 16th, 89. So very short. Like they quit season 1 in March, and then they shifted over to Saved by the Bell in August.
Yeah.
Of the same year.
So they did. Yeah. And it's funny because, like, Haley Mills, who, she was pretty big back then. She had done Parent Trap and all that. She didn't come back. It was Mark Paul Gosselaar. So Zach returned. Dennis Haskins, who was Mr. Belding, he returned. And Lark Voorhees returned as Lisa Turtle. Those are the only 3, I think. Oh, yeah, and Screech, yeah. That returned from the original from the Miss Bliss year. And then they added Tiffany Amber Thiessen as Kelly Kapowski. They added Mario Lopez as AC Slater, and then they added Elizabeth Berkley as Jessie Spano. And then it went to 18 episodes. And then they changed everything. Like they changed the theme song. Now they're in LA, so they're in California, and they're going to Bayside High. So now it switches them to high schoolers as well.
There's 16 episodes total, and the weird thing about this season was, and I'm sure you noticed, is that the last 2 episodes are kind of the first 2 of the season.
See, and yes, and I was like, wait a minute, did they put them on wrong? Like, was I supposed to watch this first? And then I kind of remembered, I was like, well, I think maybe I thought I remembered them doing a flashback. So I was like, okay. But I was like, man, I wonder if this one, I should have watched this one first. But no, they do. The last 2 kind of explain how, Kelly and Slater come to be.
Yeah. And, and they always imply in this season that Jesse's always been there. Because Zach and Jesse were with each other, in nursery school, or they called it, or something. I don't know, when they were real little, because they had nap time together, and Zach had took her bear, and he gave it back to her all these years later. He had Screech's tricycle, too. And he gave...
And I think he had a blanket. I think Jesse returned his blanket, didn't she? Or someone returned... Yeah. I think Jesse had his bear, and he had her blanket.
Okay.
And they had been close friends, But they switched stuff, yep.
Yeah.
So they had all, I mean, it's implied, like you said, it's implied that she'd always been there, but obviously she wasn't in the first season, or technically the first season.
Yeah. And
like I said, call it.
Right. And it's neat to see it, like watching this as an adult now. I don't remember any of these episodes as of right now. Like, I'm sure, like, as we get in further on, I'll start remembering more. But like these episodes, I don't remember. And I just never realized how close Jesse and Zach were. They were really close. They had like that special bond. Like, he was always climbing into her bedroom. No boy ever better do that to my house. But so she he was always coming into her room and hanging out with her and stuff. So their bond was really good.
That's like we talked about how, we thought that it was weird that he ended up always going after Kelly when it felt like they had more of a chemistry, and it should have been those 2 together, and Slater and Kelly had more. I don't know. We talked about that, how it seems like that's how it should have gone. Because he does. He I feel like he has and I feel like a lot of the sentimental moments throughout this season are really between them. Because you had that episode where, in the dancing episode where she feels like she's too tall to dance with anybody, like the Dance to the Max episode, and he kind of calms her down and he literally turns down Kelly to go with her. Well,
Kelly kind of has this snooty attitude, though. She's like, who am I going to go with? Like, who's going to win? And that really, I'm not a Kelly fan right now. And I like Zach. Yeah, he's into antics, and like he has those, like, he does silly stuff. I get that, but I just think, that's part of growing up. We all learn from our mistakes, and he's got a lot of mistakes he's learning through. And I think we'll see him grow and mature for sure.
Well, and I think, like we talked about too, Screech and him, their relationship, it feels like Zach is always taking advantage of Screech, or, you know what I mean? Like, not treating him the best, considering they're supposedly friends. But I still, like we talked about, at the end of the day, Zach knows when he needs to have his back, and you know what I mean? I feel like he knows that Screech really is a true friend, and I think when he needs to show it, he does. But like you said, he does do his antics. I mean, it's Zach. And I think they needed to have Slater because they had to have an adversary for Zach, antagonist, to kind of put him on his, you know what I mean, step up his game a little bit. Because I feel like once Slater did come, I feel like Zach did have to step up his game a little bit with his antics. Action when Kelly kind of pretends to have the headaches and things like that.
Yeah.
And then the Zach tapes, which is another episode where Zach tries to manipulate the songs.
Yeah, I really like Lisa. The only thing that really bothers me with her is just how hateful she is to Screech. Like, Screech, I get it, he's annoying, but he means well. And she just never gives him the time of day. And I like that episode, the Zach tapes, because we get to see a softer side of Lisa with Screech. I like that.
Well, and then you had Beauty and Screech. Yeah.
Oh, where Zach dresses up like the girl, right? Is that the one?
Well, that's I think. Let's see, which one is that? Well, he tries to get Screech. Yeah, he tries to get Screech to be with, or to get Lisa to want to be with Screech, and so he he ends up having to dress like her because he calls him.
Yeah.
And then they want to meet, and so he does end up having to dress like her for him. Yeah.
Well, so Zach gives Screech all these stipulations, as Zach's the girl, and Zach's like, well, Screech, you have to do this, this, and this, and Screech is agreeing to everything, and then she finally says, I'm the only one that can be your friend, or like be in your life, so you have to get rid of Zach Morris, and Screech is like, no way, and so he, it works out to where he dumps the girl. It kind of worked out in Zach's, but doesn't Slater hit on Zach? Or no,
yeah. He kind of does, and then he says Morris, like he kind of knows who it is.
Yeah.
Because then he was like, Screech, I think you need to give her a kiss.
Yeah. Oh, and then the episode, it was called The Gift, episode 3. Screech gets struck by lightning and is temporarily able to foretell the future.
Mm-hmm.
And then he kind of slowly and then Zach uses it to cheat on a test. And he says, Screech, what are the questions on the test? But his abilities slowly start to diminish.
Well, I think he gets something on him, doesn't he? Doesn't something get spilled on him to do that? To make him kind of like short out, I guess. So, I don't know. Okay. But yeah, he...
Yeah, I like this. Out of these two, this was probably my more favorite season, was season 2. Mm-hmm. It was just easier to watch. All right, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. I'm Tiffany. This is my BFFF Shelley. Join us next time, friends, for another great episode.